The Net tab shows network activity grouped into categories by all or HTML, CSS, JavaScript, XHR or XML HTTP requests, that shows the AJAX requests, images and Flash. If, for example, we take a look at a popular website, such as the Australian Yahoo 7 site, if we open Firebug, switch to the Net tab, and then reload the page, if I select the All filter, this shows every request that's been made to display this home page. If I scroll right down the bottom, you can see there was a total of 112 requests required to render the page, a total of 822.7 kilobytes, of which 745 came out of the cache, and the total page rendering took 8 seconds. If we look at each one of these requests, we can see that the individual timing information. So this first GET request for au.yahoo.com took 344 milliseconds. When we mouse over, we can see that broken down into the various request phases. And in this case, there was 195 milliseconds of waiting and the 149 milliseconds of receiving. For each request, it tells us the HTTP verb. So this was a GET request, the URL that was requested, the HTTP status code of the response, the domain it came from, and the total amount of data transferred. If I select the HTML filter, that will show me the requests just for HTML pages. So this first one was the original request from my browser. As you would have come to expect, we can see the request headers and the response headers, the raw HTML response, and the HTML response rendered. The CSS filter shows all of the style sheets that were loaded for the page. Again, we get request and response header information, the raw response, and you can see that this CSS file has been minified. That means that all the comments and white space have been removed to limit the file size as much as possible. And there's also information about the cache. The JavaScript filter is very similar to the CSS. Same information, the headers, a minified response, and cache data. So in the case of this Yahoo 7 website, there were 16 different requests required to serve the JavaScript. The XHR request shows the AJAX requests. In the case of this particular website, there's only one. It's passing these 3 parameters to an AJAX service, and then the response is a chunk of HTML. Again, we have cache information. The images filter shows all of the images loaded on the page. There's 79 in this particular case. If we mouse over, we get a preview of what the image looks like, and all of the usual information, the domain and the file size and the timing information. Finally, the Flash filter shows the Flash movies that are loaded, and for each Flash movie we can view the headers and the cache information.